what you don't have. When you are talking about integrity, you are really talking about the real person, who that person is.
When you talk of integrity, you talk of honesty. To be honest. And to be honest means to be trustworthy, to be truthful. And politics is science and art of government.
Politics is about the people.
Yes.
And if you talk about it in a deeper sense, it has to do with how people take decisions on how to lead themselves.
A pleasant day from Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN. It is so disheartening that after a lot of preparation for the 2019 February 16 general elections, INEC decided to postpone the elections few hours to the kickoff, though not without reasons, stating that logistics, bad weather condition, and burnt INEC offices in various states are causes for the postponement. This is still your favorite program, Christians and Politics, and we shall be looking at the topic, State of the Nation, 2019 Elections Postponement. I am Akitunde Korede, and with me in the studio today are elections observers. I have Dr. Benson Olugbo, is the Executive Director, Clean Foundation. And I also have Venerable J. Onwaya, Head of the National Director of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion Observers Team. Good day, sirs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to the studio, and I know we have a lot to discuss today. All right, we shall kick off discussion, but before that, let's take a look at these short videos.
It is therefore not unexpected that such a tremendous national mobilization of men and materials will encounter operational challenges, and we have had our own fair share of these challenges. There has been delays in delivering ballot papers and result sheets for the elections, which is not unusual. However, I must emphasize that all ballot papers and result sheets were ready before the elections, despite the very tight legal framework for finalizing nominations of candidates and dealing with the spate of legal challenges that accompany it. In this regard, the Commission has been sued or joined in 640 court cases arising from the nomination of candidates alone. As of today, there are 40 different court orders against the Commission on whether to add or drop candidates. Interestingly, the last order actually arrived yesterday. The net effect of this is that there is usually roughly 1 month window for the Commission to print ballot papers and result sheets and either fly or transport them to several destinations until they finally get to each of the polling units. Unfortunately, in the last 1 week, flights within the country have been adversely affected by bad weather. For instance, 3 days ago, we were unable to deliver materials to some locations due to bad weather. We therefore had to rely on slow-moving, long-haulage vehicles to locations that can be serviced by air, in spite of the fact that we created 5 zonal hubs: Abuja for the North Central, Port Harcourt for the South-South and Southeast, Kano for the Northwest, Maiduguri and Yola for the Northeast, and Lagos for the Southwest, to facilitate the delivery of electoral logistics.
For the interest of Nigeria, it's a good one. Instead of doing it hurriedly and come out with a shabby result that people would not have trust on, I think it's better we have it this way.
If you want to postpone an election, at least it should be like some kind of week interval, or let's say a couple of days, let's say 5 days interval. Everybody was serious to vote. It was like 2 a.m. It just postponed like 4 hours to the election. That was very, very bad. And if you check it and see, on Saturday was very, very terrible. There was no even food. You can see the poor people looking for food, as in selling rice, selling beans, just to help themselves.
For the cancellation and postponement of this election, I know God has a purpose for that, and we are waiting on him to complete his work. I will not see it as man-made. I see it as the hand of God in action. Because one thing I do believe, as a believer, I believe that with prayers on ground, there's nothing our God cannot do. No matter the plans of the enemy, God is always there to answer our prayers.
I know it is not easy. If there was a logistic problem, they would have, at least 2 days before the election, they would have informed people, not 2 a.m. in the morning on the day of election, because a lot of people traveled for this election to their various villages, towns, homes, only to find out that the election has been postponed. It doesn't make sense. Nigerians, if you are voting, vote wisely. Vote wisely. Don't vote because of 2 cups of rice or because of a piece of wrapper. Vote wisely. Let your vote count.
You know, according to the position of the law, the Electoral Act, Section 26, empowers INEC if there is a serious breach of peace, if there is a natural disaster, or something like an emergency, to postpone an election. We heard shortly after that that INEC was saying due to logistics problems, they couldn't continue with the election. So, could be under an emergency. But that day I saw that people really were in the mood to vote, because streets were empty in Abuja, in Kaduna, in Abuja, in Calabar, Lagos, everywhere. But suddenly the thing just came unexpectedly, and many people were disappointed. But my take is that, well, 1 week, no matter the hardship, people should summon up courage and come out, stay to vote, to exercise their civic responsibility. Because we need peace in our nation, we need development, we need progress. And people used to clamor. If you say that you are not happy with what is happening, you have the right, your voter's card, to do the needful. So if you give up because of the postponement, you are not doing yourself a world of good.
And that was the announcement by the chairman of the INEC postponing the election. And you can also hear the views of people on the streets in Abuja there. Let's go ahead and go straight to the discussion for today. Let me start with Dr. Ben. Like I said, I have Abuja Onoye is the National Director for CONAC. That's for the Church of Nigeria Observers Team. And I also have Dr. Benson, the Executive Director, Clean Foundation. Both are observers for this election, approved observers for this election. So I will be hearing directly from those who are on the field. Dr. Benson, I'm sure you must have been cleaning up or possibly well set with your team on Friday nights, making a lot of calls to know how things will go. How did you take the announcement that came in the dead of the night?
It was very shocking because we are accredited observers by INEC. We have 1,621 observers, like all the 774 local governments. So we set up our election security support center at Hilton, and we had trained our 36 state coordinators across all the states. They came to Abuja, and then they now went back to their states to train the observers for the election. And on Friday, we also released we launched our center in preparation for the election proper. But I remember around 10:30, some of our colleagues came around and whispered that there were rumors that the election may be postponed, but it was virtually rumors. Nobody really had any inclination of what was going to happen. And I guess it was by 2:45 that it became official that the election had been postponed. Several issues, you know, can be seen from that. One, we had discussions with INEC 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 3 weeks, 3 days before the election. And what the chairman of INEC and his commissioners kept telling us is that they are ready. Even when, on Wednesday, when the Situation Room launched in Hilton, we raised the issue of the arson that took place in 3 INEC offices in Plateau State, in Abia State, and
Anambra State.
Anambra State. And they told us that they had made ad hoc arrangements and that they were ready to go. So it was a big shock for us. And also remember, we monitored the activities of security agencies deployed on election beat. And most of them had deployed. Sensitive and non-sensitive material, some of them had already moved out of Central Bank to the various local governments and polling units where these elections were to be held. So it's really unfortunate because INEC did not give anybody the inkling that they were having logistic challenges. It was when the announcement was made and subsequently the press conference called by INEC at the International Conference Center that they now came out to inform Nigerians that these are the problems. So people were saying, but election has been cancelled before.
Yeah.
We remember in 2011, voting was already on in some parts of the country when it was cancelled because materials were not able to get there. In 2015, it was postponed for about 6 weeks because of security issues. So the problem with this rescheduling or postponement is that materials, money has already been spent. People had booked flights, people traveled, a lot of Nigerians traveled from abroad to come for this election. Several Nigerians left where they are residing to go to where they registered to vote. And probably that also brings up the issue, must you actually go to your local government or polling unit to vote if you are a registered Nigerian? So it's really difficult.
Yes, let me before we go deeper into the whole issue, Reverend, you were, I think we were together on Friday, and it wasn't sounding like there was anything like that. And I'm sure possibly if anybody tells you on that Friday, as a man of God, you may need to consult God again to ask if it is true the election will be postponed. What was your reaction in the morning?
Well, it was a mixed reaction. It was shocking, but for me as an individual, really, it was not shocking.
Okay.
Because we must have to factor in Nigeria factor into whatever we are doing in this place. And many people are blaming INEC that the postponement came too late. Well, to a large extent, I will share their view that when this logistic problem was coming up, INEC would have maybe be fast enough to take decision. But if you listen to the INEC chairman himself, they were doing everything to arrest the situation as they were arising. You see, why did I say we need to factor in Nigeria factors into these things? Number one, who do you blame really? Is it that INEC was not prepared? If I was to be the INEC chairman, the sensitive materials have been fully printed. The non-sensitive materials are ready. Observers have been prepared and accredited. The police have given a green alert that they are ready. INEC chairman has the right to tell the people that they are ready. But the situation we found ourselves in Nigeria is that many things are not working. The major Nigeria factor here is this. In some civilized clans in the world, you don't need to transport all these things overnight. Nigeria is a very, very vast country. You see, experience, they say, is the best teacher. I am privileged to be the desk officer for all Anglican publications. And I know the logistic challenges that are involved in distributing materials throughout the whole country. Every step you take to address it, you come across another brick wall. Now, if I have to use that as a case study, we have decided that, okay, to avoid the problems of the past where materials will not get to their destination as at when due, the company should charge us for whatever it will cost to deliver materials to bishop courts. And we have given them the addresses. But I can still tell you that today we are still having issues. Materials are deployed from Lagos. It will not get to Maduguri. Some of them will get to one motor park, and the park people, the company have paid. The park people will keep it and say their vehicle is not full. They are waiting for more passengers and more materials before. And they have forgotten that those materials are time-bound. So a lot of things, and unfortunately, some of them will not even bother to revert back to the company to say, the material you gave to us, you paid for, is still with us here in the park. Some of them will get to Maduguri and say the distance from our park to the Bishop Court is far. We don't need to take it there as agreed. Let's be calling. Some of them will just call once and they tell you a bishop did not pick call, and so they abandon the material for the next past 1 month in their car park without getting back to the company to say we could not deliver the material. So these are peculiar situations in abroad. If you cannot deliver your material, we will revert back to the person. So this is where I'm talking about Nigeria. And that is something that we have a window of about 1 month to distribute, and not as voluminous as what INEC have to move overnight. The reason why they run into this problem is this. Now, he is an observer. He will know that observer did not get their tags until a day or two. Some did not get their kits until a day or two. Party agents did not get their tags until a day to it. In fact, that very Friday night, like in Imo, party agents have not even gotten their tags. The reason is because Nigeria wants to abuse everything. I have asked INEC chairman and the director of EPM, why can't, for instance, observers kit, our ID card, be given to us? They said in the past they gave this thing out early. Some observer group took this same material, the ID card, took it to go and be conversing with political party leaders to give them money and all that these are things they even gave to party members to move freely to commit havoc. That is why they cannot release this thing until a day, so that somebody cannot abuse it. Then come to the issue of sensitive materials. If it is in a civilized place, what is wrong if these 2-3 days before election, these things are already at the local government headquarters? But INEC wouldn't do that because they believe if you release this thing, people will do 1 or 2 things that are untoward. So INEC virtually wait for the last day before election Friday to be distributing material for police, for observers. For instance, we observers, over 140 observation group that were accredited. All their materials will be distributed throughout the whole country a day to election. That of police, the state, look at the thousands of things that they need to do. The same thing applies to materials. The same time, the ad hoc staff of INEC will be moving. We have to add human face to what is. I think if we are going to solve this problem, onboarding INEC will be the solution, number 1 solution, because it's like INEC is carrying too much on their hand. Then the second thing, this will open our eyes to the issue of electronic voting. That was, the move on that has been scuttled by the president for refusing to sign the amendment bill. Yeah. Now, if we are ready to go that way of electronic, all this movement up and down will not be necessary.
Let me just break in there. Let me ask you. The INEC chairman, apart from logistics,
yes,
in which you have also buttressed by your, was talking also about legal issues.
Yes.
That they were even getting court Or that's still
even
Friday.
a day to it. Say the last court order came a day to it.
So in terms of, and from the press briefing he did, one can actually see a frustrated chairman who feels that a lot of things are not well perfected in the electoral issues. And do you feel that between 2015 and now, a lot of all those things couldn't have been looked into and fine-tuned?
Now, the truth is that I will keep harping on Nigeria factor. How many countries do you see where almost 90 people are vying for one office of a president? Look at our ballot paper. Is it not embarrassing? Look at the ballot paper, how weedy it is today. The people that are saying they want to be president of Nigeria are not even known to Nigerians. Some parties are known. Even we observer, how many as
all right, let me cut you short.
How many political party can he recognize?
We have a caller from Edo State. Pastor Olusegun, if I can hear you clearly.
Okay, this is Pastor Olusegun from Edo State.
Okay.
The issue that happened on Saturday is what I really want to talk about.
Yes.
Because like in my state, as at before the postponement, the item that was brought to Edo State, even as at the midnight, people were still complaining that there is central bank. So, but I was surprised to hear yesterday that my former governor, the person of Comrade Adam Soshomole, who is the party chairman of the APC, was complaining that the ANEC are working for the opposition party. So if he is saying this, him who is in Edo State and the attempts were denied of releasing to us, and he said that the party, the ANEC is working for opposition party, for me, I am disappointed in him as a party chairman of a ruling party, who that even in his own state, people were waiting for materials and they were still telling us that the material are still inside the CBN. And now, if he's saying that the opposition is working for the ANEC is working for opposition party, that is not true. Meaning that himself was aware that the election will not be held on that day. So, if you are looking at all these things, if he claimed to be a Christian, and yesterday when he was talking in the national television, he was swearing to Holy Quran. Can a Christian who said that he's a Christian be swearing to Holy Quran in the public place of such? So, in fact,
thank you.
Whole thing, I know that God is in control.
Thank you, Pastor Olusegun from Edo State, because I think, let me ask you, do you think that the parties, either of the parties, just like you were saying, we have 73 presidential candidates, everybody was counter-unawares. Even the president said it was when he woke up to do his morning prayers before he got to know. I mean, was all well all along?
Well, I think everybody's affected. And you can see the anger and frustration in both the two big parties. But let me come back to the other issue you had raised about political parties.
Yes.
We are not really doing badly. If you go to countries like Senegal, they have up to 300 and plus political parties. We have only 91.
No, you are talking about one can we call that one third ward or fourth ward?
And I think it's a function of the law. The law says if you meet the minimum requirement, you should be registered as a political party. The unfortunate thing is that our political parties don't have ideologies. So that is why you can move from party A to party B today, from party B to party C, and from party C back to party A. In other climes, people, once you join a political party, before you leave it, there must be divergence of opinion. That you must know why you are leaving, because the party has a manifesto, they have a policy, they have a direction, and everybody follows the direction. Everybody understands that if you lose, you will always have an opportunity. But here, politicians are kind of fair weather. You join the bandwagon. That is why you will see the opposition moving to the main party now. And if anything happens after the elections, you will see people moving back again. But in terms of the issue of the logistics, and that is why a lot of people are not really happy. Even the chief technical officer of INEC, when these issues were raised about the cases, about the River State cases, the Zamfara cases, an issue that were not still clear about who is going to be on the ballot paper. Yes. They told us confidently that they are ready. And we said, assuming the court gives a decision that says you need to add some people, they said they've already made preparation for such eventualities. So there was this level of confidence. I remember in one of the interviews, the chairman of the INEC was pointedly asked, is there anything that will happen and this election will be postponed? And he said he doesn't foresee that. The problem is not that you cannot postpone election. And we actually did what we call a security threat assessment. One of the key findings we found is that INEC could be seen to be partial. Okay? But in looking at that partiality, what came out is that there are some issues which Venerable was trying to point out. There are some issues that are not directly under INEC's control. For example, movement of materials, printing of ballot papers, movement of sensitive materials from Abuja to the 5 places they were supposed to house, and then to the central bank and bringing them out.
Yes, but
and then use of road transport workers and all those things. What we understand from what is happening is there was clear sabotage.
Okay.
That at least let's take it from the last 2 weeks of the election. There was a clear sabotage, the burning of PVCs in Abia State, the burning of INEC office in Plateau State, and then the one that happened, the 5,000 PVCs were burnt in Anambra State. These were clear sabotage. What now happened is that despite all these clear problems, all this danger, we can call it, INEC still gave us that assurance that they have worked on these issues, they were prepared on these issues, and they were ready to go ahead. If they had given Nigerians an inkling that there's a possibility of postponing this thing, and we'll always give you information up to date. One thing about effective communication is that it's an issue of trust. A lot of people trusted INEC. A lot of people made investment based on the fact that the election was going to hold on Saturday.
And I think that was what the president was also hammering on yesterday, that they were giving assurance per second that things were all right.
Now, if I may come in there, see, that's why I want us to give INEC the benefit of the doubt in all this. Like one of the video clip you showed, somebody said it is better to postpone this election, irrespective of what is costing Nigerians, than to have gone into it and be stranded halfway. Now, people may not understand what INEC said for Nigeria. INEC is insisting that they don't want to, in this presidential election, they don't want staggered election.
Yes.
They want the election to be done in one day. Let me give you the reason. What INEC is working at is this. If they had gone ahead, as at that evening, they were already getting report, for instance, it was a reality that those State didn't get material.
Yes.
It was a reality that material could not get to Borno. It was a reality that material could not get to Yobe and some of these things. And the man said, for the 3 days before that cancellation, almost all the commissioners were sleeping at Abuja International Airport. These are verifiable facts. Just to make sure that they push this thing to get to the appropriate quarters. If at the dying moment, from about 10 p.m., do you know it was around that 10 p.m. the news started filtering that I was in INEC headquarters by 9 o'clock because I finished my healing and deliverance service program. I have to go back to INEC headquarters because I needed to finalize on the issue of my ID card to the situation room at the National Collation Center. So it was when I was coming out of INEC office by 9 p.m. I got the wind of it that it's like the chairman is about to summon an emergency meeting because of the report they are getting all over the country that if they go ahead, there will be up to about 5 or more states where election will not hold. Now, do you know the implication? If they have gone ahead, that means all those states where there were no materials, the election will be cancelled and be moved forward. All other people will vote. Nigeria will be under this same tension because election result will not be declared. The whole thing will be inconclusive. And what we follow is that the party, some people are saying the party in power, when they look at the result from the states that have been concluded, if it is not in their favor, they can deploy federal might to make sure just anything
like what happened in Osun State.
Just like what happened in Osun State, to make sure that they use the remaining states to balance up. Some people have cleverly even looked at it and discovered, for instance, why should material not leave Central Bank in Edo State? I lived in Edo State for many years. I'm from Edo State. Central Bank is by the ring road at the center of Benin. Why should material not be able to get out of the Central Bank? That is a state that is governed by the ruling political party. That is a state where you have the national chairman for the ruling party. And that is a state where the governor is a member of the ruling party. Tell me, if not for sabotage, what will make materials to be stocked inside that very Central Bank? So there were some underground hand trying to frustrate what INEC was doing in order to give room for staggered election. Why the simultaneous burning, the case of arson that is taking place? When they say INEC chairman, I've listened to this man over and over again. We should give him the benefit of the doubt. He's an intelligent man. Even when people, we had the last briefing, people were asking him, will you need more money because of this cancellation? He asked, am I complaining? I'm not complaining that there's no money. I didn't tell you that even during the speech, he made something that was very striking, that what has happened is solely the decision of INEC. It was not for security reason. It was not for political. There was a political party unduly influencing them, and it was not for lack of resources. Okay. It was just due to the challenges they were facing that night on logistics.
Let me ask you a yes or no answer while we go on break. Yeah. Do you support the clamor to sack the INEC chairman? Yeah.
No.
It's
an independent commission. I'm happy that the ruling party and the main opposition party, all of them are crying wolf. That only alludes
yes,
to the
that's why I said that's why it's a
INEC.
yes or no question. Do you support that clamor?
No, I don't support
no,
that.
No,
we'll continue from that after the break.
Chaos.
We'll continue from that after this short break. Thank you for staying tuned.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has spelled out the voting procedures for the 2019 general elections via its verified Twitter handle, INEC Nigeria. The following are the 7 steps as stated by INEC. Step 1. Upon arrival at the polling unit, join the queue and present yourself to the INEC official at the polling unit, who will determine whether you are at the correct polling unit and check if the photograph on the permanent voter's card matches your face. If satisfied, he or she will direct you to the next INEC official. Step 2. The official will request for your PVC to confirm that your card is genuine and your details using the smart card reader. He or she will ask you to place your finger on the card reader to confirm that the PVC belongs to you. By ascertaining, the card reader will contain the name, photograph, and fingerprints of all those registered in their polling unit. Step 3. You will then meet the next official who will request for your PVC to confirm that your name and your details are in the voters register. Your name will be ticked and your PVC returned to you. He or she will then apply indelible ink to the cubicle of your appropriate finger for that election to show that you have been accredited to vote. If your name is not found on the register, you will not be allowed to vote. Step 4. The presiding officer stamps, signs, and endorses the dates at the back of the ballot paper. The presiding officer will roll the ballot paper inwardly with the printed side inward and give it to you. He or she will then direct you to the voting cubicle where you will vote in secret. Step 5. You will stain your appropriate finger for the election with the ink provided. Then use your stained finger to mark the space or ballot provided on the ballot paper for your preferred candidate or party. Roll the marked ballot paper in the manner the presiding officer gave you. Step 6. Then leave the voting cubicle and drop the ballot paper in the ballot box in full view of people at the polling unit. Step 7. You will then leave the polling unit or wait, if you so choose, in an orderly and peaceful manner to walk the process up to the declaration of results. Note: the results of each polling unit shall be pasted at the unit and for everyone to see.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. It's still your favorite program, and we'll continue with our discussion on the issue of the general election postponement. Dr. Benson, you said you will not support sacking or suspending the INEC chairman. Yes. But a lot of people have said, with this sudden postponement, reassurance, and from what some observers have even seen, let's take, for example, the ad hoc staffs, the core members sleeping in on the field, in the school. In fact, we saw some pictures where some were sleeping in commercial vehicles. Will you say that things are going on well under this man with his level of assurance that he has been given and what we've seen?
Yeah, mine is, if you look at the whole process, the INEC as an institution has actually tried, and they have followed the timeline they produced for the elections.
Yeah.
Where I have problem is in the manner they manage communication.
Okay.
But there are issues, and that is where I also agree with Venerable in terms of the Nigerian factor. And like I earlier pointed out, the issue of the security threat assessment we did on partiality of INEC, you will see that there are issues that are actually beyond INEC. Apparently, the monies must have been given out, but the individuals who are holding these monies refuse to release them. So it's really unfortunate. And I also think it's something that we need to say over and over again, the welfare of officials deployed for election duty. It was a harrowing experience, even for us watching, seeing those pictures of National Youth Service Corps members sleeping in the bare field. That was not what they signed for as corps members. And I think it is important for us to, there is what we call in the Nigerian Constitution respect for human dignity. We did not respect their human dignity. We did not do everything capable of supporting whatever they're doing.
What do you think the INEC should be doing? Because like they said, they don't own those public schools. They don't own all those areas where the NYC members are sleeping.
I think it's a combination of allowances and ensuring the welfare of those who are deployed to support INEC. Because for all intents and purposes, an ad hoc staff is also a staff. The problem is that the person is not on full-time employment. But whatever they do, any infraction that they do, whatever happens to them, INEC actually has a responsibility. Even the National Youth Corps itself also has a responsibility. I think we should just go beyond, release them, let them go. We should actually take care of their welfare. That is my own. And I think government needs to look into the issue of welfare. Also, don't forget.
Let me retake this Olusegun from Edo State.
The issue of setting this INEC chairman out of this election, I don't support that. I want us to still allow him to conclude and do this election, because the seal of this present administration will find them out. Because God has spoken, and what God has spoken, no man can change. Nigeria must have a peaceful, credible, and free and fair election, and this government in power must be put out of power. So we should not worry over anything. We should allow God to complete His work.
Thank you.
Like I said, that the OGM of today has stated it, that the election will not. So if you look at the OGM of today, that is Dr. Chris. We found out that God has spoken.
Thank you, Mr. Olusegun, for your contribution. Because we don't have time, we are running out of time. Now, let me ask you on the issue of welfare too. For me, an ad hoc staff who is not well taken care of, if a politician gets hold of them, would there not be something to be afraid of?
Yeah, they can easily be compromised. It's not even about the ad hoc staff alone. We are talking about harping on Nigeria factor, so that Nigeria begin to think about how to reorientate her value system generally. Do you know that my observers in Kaduna who left home early because they wanted to get to the polling booth early that very day, they said many policemen were even struck. Thank God this Clean Foundation pays attention to security matters. The police were stranded. They came out from their houses, no vehicle. Police have no vehicle to move them to their stations. They were at bus stop, no taxi, nothing, because there's already restriction on the movement. The man was calling me and saying, I'm here with many police officers now who are supposed to be going to police centers where they are assigned. They are stranded with us here because they have no vehicle to even get to where they are going. In Nigeria, you have issues like that. My eldest brother is a British police officer, a detective at a very high level in the UK. And I tell you, when he tells you about how they manage all these police vehicles, almost every policeman has a vehicle to himself to use. And that's why you see if there's any incidents, blow a whistle, all of them will surround the place, block every avenue for the criminal to escape. So there are issues about welfare. If a police officer is stranded on the road, then it can resort to begging somebody to help him. So it can be compromised along the line. The same thing goes to the NYSC person. You know, we are talking about welfare. What about their security? They were very vulnerable. People were sleeping outside like what we saw in those pictures. Anything could have happened to them in this country. That matter of insecurity is an issue. So I think we need to pay more attention to some of these things.
Let me just take Dr. Benson on the issue of security.
Yeah.
With what you've observed so far, do you think the security are capable of handling this election?
Of course, you know, the Nigeria is an interesting question. If they want to, they are capable. In fact, what has happened is that from what we had, actually from Ekiti,
okay,
police security agencies now receive the allowances before deployment, which we believe is a good omen. But also, this postponement has caused more problems. They normally deploy security officers on the Thursday, like 48 hours before the election. Now, what we had is that they were asked to stay behind. And I am not sure there is any allocation or funds to support them beyond what has been given to them for the days they were supposed to stay. So the postponement is causing crisis everywhere, not only for us who have observers, but also for the security agencies. Because the idea is that you're supposed to stay from Thursday until Sunday, or probably Monday, you go back to your base. But now, since Thursday, they have been there, and they will be there until the end of this election. And as an average Nigerian, so they have families. And probably the amount of money that was given to them, they had calculated how they were going to use it for the 2-3 days that they were supposed to be in the place they were deployed. But now they have been given an extra 1 week with little or no possibility that there's going to be an additional
So as someone who looks into security, do you support the issue of restriction of movement, especially looking at what Vermo just said? Some security men were even stranded because there's no movement.
For me, personally, I had part of my school, I had a fellowship in the US when Obama was president. We went, my son had a medical checkup, and we went to the medical checkup. The doctor who treated him brought out his finger and told us he just voted. Life is normal. We were able to go to the hospital for his medical checkup. But the problem is that in Nigeria, election is life and death.
It's like a war.
It's a war. So we will want a situation where people will have access to all the amenities. You can move around and go and vote. But the problem is that the security situation in Nigeria today and the do-or-die politics we play in Nigeria makes it practically impossible for you to say everybody should go around. Because you will see people who will now have as many PVCs as possible and be moving from one place to the other to go and vote, even though we know it's practically impossible. You will also give opportunity for miscreants. There is one problem we have in Nigeria. There is a lot of hard drug that is in circulation. So many thugs. These thugs you hear burning this down, stealing this, destroying this and this, they are acting under the influence of substances. And I think we need to do with that problem. So what that is showing us is most of the Nigerian youths who should actually be voting are causing mayhem because they are under the influence of drugs, they've been paid as political thugs, and they are being controlled by godfathers. And that is a problem.
If I may add some words to that, do you know that the restriction of movement, as with all the good intentions surrounding it, was going to disenfranchise so many Nigerians? Because we asked the acting IG during the briefing before I think that was around Thursday or thereabout, no, Tuesday, at the International Conference Center. This restriction is going to prevent people let me give a practical example.
Okay.
When I registered, I was in Wuse. From here, I was moved to Cafe, which is behind Life Camp. And from Life Camp now, I'll be moved to Mambushi. And my voting point is near Sheraton in Central area. If I was to still be in Cafe, can I trek from Cafe to Sheraton? Now that I'm in Mambushi, can I trek from that place to that place. Then if I'm not an observer who have the ID card to move about that day, that means I will be disenfranchised because I cannot track the distance. And because people have traveled, so many hotel and other, almost everything is locked down. So how do you manage such situation? And when you say restriction of movement is 6 to 6, how do you expect people who to trek and get to their police center before 6 a.m. for Christ's sake?
So to you, possibly the restriction should have started maybe like 7?
Yeah, maybe they would have said by 7:30 no longer movement. Then by 3, because the voting stops at 2. By 3, who joined the line by 2, at least should be allowed to vote. By 3, then there should be movement because people who left home before 5 a.m. to be able to get to their police before 6 should be able to go back home. If they don't want to continue to hang around, then you want them to wait till after 6. Which taxis are going to come out after 6 to convey them back home? So we still have all these factors, which I call Nigeria factor, that we need to do. I think the solution to it, we should begin to think ahead now. Nigeria can... I listened to Donald Duke yesterday. He was trying to quantify what goes into election in Nigeria and what we have just lost by this simple postponement. Now, he was saying 1/4 of that money deployed into technology can solve this problem. You won't need police to be running up and down. You don't need the observer to be running up and down. You don't need ad hoc staff. Or you just come up with a technology, and it's available in other clients in the world.
With your phone, you can easily
if we can withdraw
election.
money is very sensitive. If you can go into ATM in the night and withdraw your money, what you program is what it gives to you. Why shouldn't I go to ATM and put in my voter's card and vote for the party I want to vote and go home?
The problem is that we are a country of 180 million, counting. We have a lot of illiterates in Nigeria. And even the Observer project we did recently, let me not say graduates, there are a lot of, quote, educated Nigerians who don't even know how to operate Android phone, who don't even know how to use these materials. We are making progress. If you look at the progress we have made from 2003
a lot of progress
to 2019, there have been some progress. Technology has its own disadvantages and also it has its own advantages. One of the key problems is what the president refused to do, to sign the Electoral Act. I think it's a gradual process. You see, by the time we finish this presidential, I'm sure there will be some learning that we will use for the governorship. And then when we now enter into the off-cycle elections, like the one that will take place in Kogi before the end of the year, there will be improvements. So it's a gradual process.
Okay, so as an observer, just to wrap up, what are your logistic plans now that are in the pipeline?
So we have 1,621 stationary observers who will be in all the 774 local governments. We have about 37 roving observers. That's our state coordinators. And then we have set up this election security center in Abuja here. One is in Hilton. Then we have offices in Lagos and Owerri. And then we have Police Service Commission personnel, our staff, and other Nigerian Bar Association, and other people who are there. The idea is once we are getting live information from our field observers, it will be fed into these election security support centers, and then we will directly communicate with the Police Service Commission, with INEC, with DSS about infractions. And they have promised that they are going to take action. But beyond that, we're also going to record whatever happens. Because we have a back end where checklists will be submitted, information will be relayed, and subsequently we are going to issue reports on that election day and after the election day, specifically on the conduct of security agencies deployed on election day.
That would be good. Let me hear from Konak as we round up.
Konak Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion is number 26 on the list of observers accredited. We are deploying 871 persons across 16 states, including FCT. And I think Konak has a deployment strategy that is so wonderful, that takes care of this kind of emergency. our deployment strategy has been our observers should observe the polling booth next to the person's residence, so that the idea of no mobility does not come. Okay. The idea of getting stranded means taken care of by that. So our people are on ground all over in all this plan. We have state contact persons. We have all our bishops in the Church of Nigeria, close to about 160 something bishops are put on the alert to put eye on what is happening on ground. We have corner checklists with which they are to make their report, and we have given them the time to submit their report. Okay. And my lines are open. 3 lines are open for all our observers throughout the country, where they can easily convey any message on emergency.
Okay, that time is not on our side.
I think we are prepared.
Yes, time is not on our side, and I think we should be in the studio possibly on Saturday to relay some of this from some of the agents on field who are observing. So I'm sure by maybe on that Saturday, this number will be released to even every other person that wants to give us feedback. And we'll also be linking up with Clean Foundation on the issue of security. I want to appreciate your coming into the studio despite the tight schedule. Dr. Benson, thank you for coming.
Thank you. I think I will end on the note that Nigeria should not be discouraged. Those who travel before should travel again. It's very important.
Some people have not come back. They are still there.
Some have not come back. Some
no
are
one
still
should
there.
be discouraged.
And I think the independent petroleum marketers are also reducing fuel pump price from Thursday. And
that's a good service to the nation.
The NURTW say also they are slashing their price.
Maybe this is the time when governor should give free transport to
citizens to come
vote. Yes,
everyone should be seen to be walking towards the success of this.
I think that's a good idea.
And
governors should give
everyone
free ride or at least a 50%
discount.
Thank you very much for coming. We are drawing the curtain for today's edition of the program. I want to appreciate our guests for sparing their time out of their busy schedule to be with us today in the studio. Also, special thanks to you as viewers, our esteemed viewers, for staying tuned today. Don't let the postponement of this election discourage you from voting. As you have stayed and waited for the election and have conducted yourself in a peaceful manner, I implore you to keep it up and make Saturday 23rd the most peaceful election in our country. Always remember, voting is not only your right, it is your power. So, therefore, keep your PVC safe and come out to perform your civic responsibility. Till we meet again, have a peaceful election. Bye for now.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and viewers and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Anglican Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN.